Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Brad Ellis.
Hi.
Ben Moore.
Hello.
My PC build and co-moderator, Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest headlines in the world of video games, but before we do that, we must answer for all of the mistakes that we made last week. Daniel Bloodworth, please begin corrections music. Boop. There is an Xbox console companion app if you want to play Xbox games on PC. There's the Xbox streaming app on phones, but you can't go console to console. We didn't say you could, but we were curious. It doesn't work yet because we were excited about that share play on PS5 and PS4.
Yeah, it sounds like the companion app doesn't work with the Series X yet, but works with the Xbox One or something like that. Yes.
Good to know. Last Guardian runs at 60 FPS without the patch. Don't get the patch. Just have the disc run as intended. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of the Visions is the game mentioned in Square Enix's financials, not the original Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My mobile cred. Not what I thought it was. The PS4 version of Yakuza Like a Dragon is available. It's the PS5 version that doesn't launch until 2021.
Right.
Adaptive triggers only work at the strongest setting when the controller mic is muted. It says so in the settings. The PS5 advises it doesn't necessarily work in all capacities unless you turn that.
Right, but your mic won't be really active most of the time unless like you're playing a multiplayer game.
It's true. I just realized the thwips in Spider-Man are on the mic. I think was playing with headphones and didn't pick that up.
That's the speaker, but
the speaker, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The mic. Apologies. Only the main dialogue in Metro 2033 has subtitles in Russian. A lot of the dialogue does not. The later Metros do, but Metro 2033, not a great game to play in Russian because a lot of people will talk to you, and if you don't know Russian, you won't know what they're saying. Lots of people advised Ian on how to increase his Wi-Fi speed to finish downloading Demon's Souls, which he did do during the duration of the podcast, but I appreciate everybody helping him out. Lots of people also shared their language preferences and situations internationally, just kind of the languages they like to do. A lot of shout-outs to Assassin's Creed Unity in French and other things, and obviously people in different countries which get different versions of games. So thank you for that input and corrections music. I also feel I must address, because we've been talking very positively about the PlayStation 5. You know, I've expected PlayStation 5 sales to exceed Xbox's. I've evidence, the most evidence I could find in this podcast, but I feel it would be improper for me not to mention that my PS5 is freaking out, man. Like, it seems, I don't want to speak for all of you, but like, man, I went into the studio and reviewed Miles Morales. I had no issues, and like, I'm getting crashes and weird things. Yeah. The controller's not working, and yikes. Some people are saying that Series X is doing that as well, but I just haven't spent that much time with it, so.
I haven't had any issues I can think of with the Series X. I've had some minor ones with the PS5. Brad, I know you, one of yours was having issues.
Yeah.
Sony reached out to, I don't know if you saw that.
They did,
an email. So maybe we could have them get Brandon's email too.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Whenever people talk about problems, it's like, yeah, but you got the quick load time, so it's, you know.
Well, it does actually kind of help a little bit, because when Demon's Souls crashes, it's like, oh, I'm back. I didn't lose anything. Just keep going.
Yeah, my Demon's Souls has been crashing quite a bit, but today, I played it a lot today, and I didn't have any crashes, so.
Hell yeah.
Hey, all right. I'll take it.
The other weird thing is the controller sometimes doesn't charge on the front USB port. You have to plug it into the back USB port for the charge and rest mode.
I haven't had that issue, I don't think.
Oh, it's been charging
Yeah, it's been charging for me.
I remember the first night, like I, did what I do with my PS4 all the time, plugged it in, put it in rest mode, and then I came back to it the next day, and the thing had like 1 bar left. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yikes. Sony, get it together. Before we get into the headlines, I want to talk about a headline that is positive in this industry. It's somewhat of a silver lining for the video game industry, something we can all be happy about. And this one, I think, is particularly tailored to our panelists tonight. From Morgan Mohala, video game promotes life-saving poop health with cute anime girls. A new Japanese app called Uncore aims to teach players about life-saving digestive health measures by animating intestinal bacteria as attractive anime characters. Yeah.
Brandon, before you got to the anime girls, I was like, does Brandon think we're into poop? Like, what?
Well,
the anime girls came later.
Right.
In that sentence.
We did talk.
What?
Ben can attest though. Poop did come up. Oh, if you watch the Sunday version, Poop came up in the Easy Allies podcast. If you're $5 and above patron on Easy Allies, you missed out on a lot of poop talk. The Game Awards nominees have been announced. And
everybody's happy with
everyone
them.
is stoked.
Everyone's stoked, dude. No complaining.
Jeff Keighley tweeted specifically, what's the tweet? What's the most deserving nomination, the biggest snub? Everyone replied with positivity. Everybody was extremely happy about these. Two things to note before we get into this discussion, which I'm excited to have with y'all. Full disclosure, we are on the voting committee of the Game Awards, and November 20th is the cutoff. So we will not be talking about Cyberpunk 2077, Hyrule Warriors, WoW Shadowlands, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Medal of Honor, Above and Beyond, which be curious to see how competitive that is in the VR space next year, among others, everything past that date. And in our case, if you have something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, November 20th wasn't enough time for us to get through that. But before I dig into some stuff that stood out to me, anything stand out to you, allies? Bled, you said you took some notes. Anything stand out to you among these nominees?
I'll have to go through and try to decipher my writing now. But I think one of the things that's really curious, as you were saying, next gen really kind of didn't get represented in the main event, the main award.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of combined those words there. Mm-hmm. But I was curious because then as I started going further down the list, I'm like, oh, there's Assassin's Creed, and then oh, there's Spider-Man. A little bit here and there managed to make it into some of the smaller categories. So it's a little weird. Obviously, Demon's Souls nobody had in time to submit, and I think that's one of the things that I feel like with the deadlines. The deadlines kind of make that, November 20th or 15th, whatever date happens to be each year, kind of makes them a little bit irrelevant because nobody voted for Demon's Souls, or nobody nominated Demon's Souls because nobody played Demon's Souls. If there's anyone that had even preview access to that, it was super limited. But it was interesting to see a few of them sneak into some of those action adventure categories and things like that. Valhalla made it into accessibility options, and I was curious, okay, somebody at least started the game when they got their Series X and started fumbling through that. It's hey, look at that, that's cool. And then what else was I thinking about?
Worth noting, accessibility this is the first year that they've done that, and somebody did submit that for Silver Lining. That's great.
Some of the sort of half snubs maybe, but but again, it's weird because it's Jedi Fallen Order. I saw a lot of people talking about it getting snubbed, but then it showed up in action adventure. So it's strange like that. Half-Life Alyx made it into a lot of categories, but it didn't make it all the way to Game of the Year. So I think
that's one of the biggest snubs. I don't know how you play Half-Life Alyx and not include it as one of the best games of the year.
I think because a lot of people didn't play it.
Yeah, I know how you don't play Half-Life Alyx. It's very simple. Yeah. You don't own a system.
I hear you, but it's nominated for other things, and it should be nominated for.
That's true,
in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Dreams only showed up in best VR.
But I don't know what I looked in the categories. I actually had that on my list, but multiplayer is the only thing I think it could. Maybe family game, but there are definitely some not family, games in
simulation. Sort of, not really. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's a weird one.
It is every genre and no genre. But multiplayer.
Ongoing, I felt was just sort of gimmies in a way. I felt like Fall Guys and Among Us and Dead by Daylight could have fit in there. And in ways, Among Us being in the other categories and not in that one feels a little bit strange because Among Us obviously didn't come out this year, just the year that we paid attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that Roki made it into best debut game. I like that game. And then Carrion was an odd one for me to see best indie because there's so many good indie games every year. And I felt like that was conceptually cool, but maybe not the best game out there when you've got stuff like Wildfire and Kunai and Vitamin Connection and Maneater. It's I don't know if Carrion really best sold, and it's even other things that I'm not thinking about, really best those.
Brad, you reviewed Carrion, right?
Nope, that was Huber.
Huber, that's right. Yeah, I wonder what happened there. I wonder why that captured the imagination of a lot of voters. Hades absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
Hades deserves to, yeah.
8 nominations for Hades. Supergiant has definitely received, awards before. They've definitely been recognized before. This feels different. I mean, this definitely feels like this company is, keeps moving up and up and up. Is this a good thing, Ben? Do you think this will go to their heads? Do you think somebody's going to want to buy this company now? Do you think?
Oh, I hope
no. I think if you look at Supergiant's track record and how they approach games, like, starting with Bastion and then moving on to Transistor and Pyre and now Hades, like, they just really push themselves to do something completely different each time. They don't reek of anything other than just a pure passion for games. So I think whatever ends up happening, Supergiant will be absolutely fine. No doubts. It's crazy to me that, like, Hades is the best game they've made, because it's not like they've been slouching. It's not like...
Right.
And Ben, that's kind of how I feel about giving them an award. Is I'm like, I don't know if they need an award. They're great. They've just been getting better and better and better. It seems like they are finding their passion and just committing to excellence with everything they do.
I mean, sure, I don't know if they need an award, but for a game as thoroughly excellent as Hades, and it's so nice seeing it get the recognition it deserves. I'd be totally happy with it winning Game of the Year. Like, absolutely deserved, I think.
And worth mentioning, nominated for Game of the Year. The Game of the Year nominations are Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, The Last of Us Part 2. Those I was definitely expecting. Ghost of Tsushima is nice. I have not finished it, but opinions about that game are definitely all over the place. And so a lot of people were very excited about that when it got announced. And then Hades. So I don't know how competitive Hades is, with all of these juggernauts, but just stoked for Supergiant.
I think Hades is one of them more competitive ones out of that list for me, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Got a shot? What are the odds?
I think it's got a shot.
It's got a shot, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some weird things on this list, though, that don't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know if I would put Genshin Impact in best role-playing.
Right. As a genre, meaning?
It just seems like a weird classification for it. I kind of see what they're coming from, but it would have maybe been nice to have something like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, because they do have Royal on there, which is super nice to see. But yeah, Genshin Impact as role-playing game compared to these others, it's a little weird. Seeing One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows, and fighting is like weird.
Ben, 57 and 59 on Metacritic in their respective platforms.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens with fighting game all the time, where it's like, we need one more game, rather than saying there's a cutoff. Yeah.
If you have Mortal Kombat 11, you have Street Fighter 5, I don't see why you don't put Tekken 7 out there. Like,
right.
Sure, yeah.
That's been updated as well, so
Right. Yeah. Those feel weird to me to even be there too.
Right. I'm just saying, I would rather see Tekken 7 because it's more deserving than One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. Also, Crash Bandicoot 4 in Family is kind of funny to me.
Right.
Because that game is so hard. Like, I don't think it's a game a ton of kids are playing. I don't know. Maybe
I think kids will play it, but yeah, Families is also a weird category because it's like, what is this actually saying? Like, how is Paper Mario a family game? Like, you don't play that with your family usually. Like, maybe somebody will watch you play, but.
And are families checking this? Is there some family just waiting to see what wins this award, and then they finally, every year we drop an easy $60 on whatever wins family.
But yeah, I think fighting is the strangest, weakest category to me. And I guess they just didn't want to cut it, but it's just sort of like, if Mortal Kombat Ultimate and Street Fighter V Champion Edition are there, it's almost like, why isn't this like just ongoing game again?
Right.
Wait, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit's a nominee?
For family, yeah.
That's weird, but okay. It's like an RC car. Yeah. Like, I get it, you play on your Switch, but
there's still a game there, yeah.
I guess. It's like half a game.
Scaring your pets, I think, is like the other half of what I've seen. Freaking out your cats who think they're safe under the bed. Blood, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I've seen a lot people that were pissed it was not nominated for Game of the Year. Got art, direction, score, and action adventure.
Yeah, I would definitely see it up there. I'm glad it was on score. I need to look at that list again. Yeah, I think it's tough though. It's really tough when you go up against these things because like the only thing I could easily see dropping out of this is Ghost of Tsushima. Like the rest of this stuff is so solid, and like yes, Animal Crossing has a lot of things to complain about, but it's also captivated everybody like nothing else. So and it's doing a ton of stuff.
Can I just say that 13 Sentinels being nominated for Best Narrative is a welcome surprise.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a huge win. I don't expect it to win, but I'm really happy to see it there.
I also saw some people, Ben, replying to say that they would consider it for art direction as well. And I saw some people replying to Keeley that posted 4 screenshots, and they were like, wow.
Oh, dude, Vanillaware? Yeah.
Crazy uses of color, and some really cool stuff. Just a fascinating game all around.
Snubbed.
Yeah, looking at this best music again, I mean, this is solid. Like, I can't argue with any of this. Yeah.
Ben, do you think Them's Fightin' Herds could potentially be fighting game nominee? I saw some people bringing that up.
That's a great question. I have not played a single second of Them's Fighting Herds, so I have no opinion of it. But I do know that the people that have jumped into it have a lot of great things to say about it, and that there was a lot of enthusiasm about it a little earlier in the year, for sure. But I haven't played it, personally.
So in an alternate dimension, we're all playing Cyberpunk 2077 right now. We got it. It's all on our next-gen consoles. We're all playing it. We're having a wonderful time. But it got delayed to December 10th, and therefore out of the running for Game of the Year this year. Last year's version of this, which did make it into Best Action Adventure, some people were pulling for it for Game of the Year, was Jedi Fallen Order, which Greg Miller made the argument that, yeah, is great, but compared to just this onslaught of excellence we got in 2020, it does not hold up. And I want to trap Keeley in an elevator and be like, why do you do this in December? Like, why don't you just do it in January? Clearly he wants like the party to be a part of the year. He wants to end the year on the awards. But it's really like the November to the November awards. It seems odd to nominate these things for quote unquote game of the year with this massive game. Do you think Cyberpunk's going to change that? Because it feels weird for Fallen Order to not be included, but not super weird, where Cyberpunk's gonna feel weird just coming back like, oh right, I forgot that was out of the running.
I agree with that. I'm a big fan of Fallen Order, but I don't think it holds a candle to a lot of the
not
games
even close to the same scale of Cyberpunk. No disrespect to it, but like Cyberpunk's a huge beast.
And those other nominees, whereas Cyberpunk, right, actually having some hands-on time with it, not nearly enough, right, to make it a definitive statement, but I could certainly see that being the best game of 2020. And so it is weird because it does kind of like loom over this thing. And a bunch of previews just came out today of people who played like 16 hours of it. Yeah. And the little that I heard, I was listening to IGN and they were like, yeah, it's fantastic. I want to play more of it. So it's strange.
Yeah. It's sort of like, didn't Smash Brothers have this exact same thing where like it came out like on the day of the Game Awards?
Yeah.
So
and music, I don't even think it was nominated, and I was like, what? Or maybe it didn't win. But like music, I thought was the category last year.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
That could have run away with. So I just think if Cyberpunk doesn't convince Keeley to maybe do the show in January, no game will.
Nothing will.
Yeah.
Right. But he also didn't have a choice at that point. Like. Yeah. Like all of his plans were up and running, so it would have to be something we had to change next year.
We're kind of in a unique position where we have our own Game of the Year awards, and we do it a little bit later, and so it's kind of no skin off my back because if I feel strongly about where something should be, I could make a case for it in our own Game of the Year.
Right? Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to get too upset about the Game Awards or other people's Games of the Years, I guess.
Well, and it's also like again, we're part of that pool. It's the collective of everyone throwing their hats, throwing the votes in the hat, and not really discussing it. Which is different than how we process. Because like as a team, like you say something, Ben, and like okay, like I see where you're coming from. This makes more sense. Whatever.
Right.
Or we kind of like look at everything together and how things are starting to shake out, and we're like, you know what, we need to adjust things here or whatever. But when it's just like raw votes and like some totally different person is going to compile all that stuff, it's like that's just where the numbers end up. Yeah.
And it's raw votes now when I don't think a lot of the people voting have had enough time to do kind of their end of the year rush. So I think in those instances, you just kind of get votes for the biggest things or the safest things. And that's fine. That's just kind of the way that it goes. But
best multiplayer game is wild. Animal Crossing New Horizons, Among Us, Call of Duty, Fall Guys, Valorant.
Okay. Playing Animal Crossing with other people is magical, but it's a nightmare. Like, it's so
it's very
archaic
slow.
with how it's set up. It's so slow. I don't know how I could say best multiplayer with that in mind.
But then again,
when it works, it's great.
A talk show came out of that game, so it's like, it's a wild game,
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I can make a talk show in Dreams, Jones.
Let's do it.
Like, just give Dreams everything.
It's true. You want to? Yeah. You got your own opinions, definitely, Ben, that you're saving for our goaties. Get ready for the Dreams onslaught.
For the Dreams ones, dude.
Every category. For fighting game, I'm bringing this weird robot fighter from Dreams.
How out of the loop am I on Valorant? Because that's the one that kind of sticks out to me, but I just feel like we haven't played a ton of it.
I played a little bit of it.
Same, yeah. Yeah, I'm certainly not inside the loop with Valorant, but it seems like one of those games that kind of came out and everybody was like, oh my god. But it seems like the momentum has cooled down quite a bit. I just don't see the fervor around it that I did in its like beta period and right at launch.
Don't see it. I mean, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it or anything like that, but I just don't have the desire to keep playing it.
As I mentioned before, we now have the Innovation in Accessibility Award, which I think is representative of all the conversations we've been having about that in 2019 and 2020. Some fun nominees there. Grounded. I'm not sure if that team was expecting a Game Awards nomination.
Oh, remember they had the spider thing.
They did, but again, I just, I imagine that team was like, oh, thank you. They were definitely making headlines for that, so that feels good. And Hyperdot. Are any of you familiar with Hyperdot?
I'm not, no.
The Hyperdot team passed out when they got this nomination. Like, whoa. But when you see Hyperdot, it does kind of make sense. This is a Geometry Wars without the shooting. Geometry Wars, all you're doing is dodging. And it's just, you're in a circle, or just madness happening all over the place. So it is a very color-focused game. And so I imagine there's, all sorts of modding you can do to that, where you can change what colors are what, so you can make it easier for people that are colorblind, have other various, sight issues. That was a game I think a lot of people were not familiar with, and it's nice to see, not only in a category that is inspiring and makes you feel good, but shining a light on games that I didn't think were going to get Game Awards otherwise.
Yeah, so Grounded makes sense to me in one way, but in another way it's strange because it's very clearly and like boldly proclaimed as early access. So sometimes I get a little confused in terms of like what qualifies to be, nominated for anything, right? So it's like Grounded, is that like an exception because it has the accessibility options in it right now, and then if it comes up for some other category in another year, then that will be whatever. Sometimes it's like the lines when we have early access games get really confusing.
Ongoing game is like, man, what a category. There's hundreds of things you could possibly put in there.
Yeah.
Ben, Persona 5 Royal, nominated for best role-playing game. Persona 5 won best role-playing game in 2017. Could it win again?
Yeah, I think so. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake will probably win this category, but
most likely with these, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Wasteland made it in there.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see Yakuza also, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this. The only one that is weird to me is Genshin Impact, but everything else, it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley tweeted he wanted to know from people what they thought was deserving and the biggest snubs. I will only discuss the snubs here because they're the most fun to talk about. Ben, Twitter is pissed about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Pissed. It's the number one game that people replied. They were like, "What the hell?" Yeah. Because Xenoblade 2 was also snubbed at the Game Awards. And they're like, "The hell, man!" And of course, all the anger is directed at the Game Awards, but it's the industry. I mean, it's everybody voting on this, and it's just something.
Yeah, it's all the press. Yeah.
Yakuza's got that cred now, but not Xenoblade. Does that upset you? Does that seem odd?
I would put it in there over Genshin Impact for sure.
Me too. Yeah.
Xenoblade is absolutely, I think, something at the industry at large would snub. I think it has a lot of things going against it. I think the anime aesthetic, I think the length, I think the complexity of it, I think it just has a lot of things going against sort of a mainstream acceptance, right? Like, Yakuza being accepted is interesting because, I mean, that took years of chipping away, and now it's finally something that you would nominate for the Game Awards. Where I just don't think Xenoblade has really had that opportunity yet. I think part of that, of course, is it being locked to Nintendo platforms as well, one platform. You're not going to get as much coverage. But
yeah, I think what's interesting is there's also the fact that it is a remaster, remake, even though it has a like Persona 5, it has a sizable amount of content added to it. I just feel like when that happens, it becomes harder for these longer games to break through the noise. So Persona 5 Royal is already a 100-hour RPG that somehow broke through all of that, and then for Xenoblade to do the same thing amongst a wide group of reviewers is pretty tough.
Yeah, definitely, I see that, but I think Persona 5 Royal being nominated, it surprises me that Xenoblade can't be nominated. Like, I just don't see...
I'm just saying in terms of like what people probably went back and played, right? Like, because I love Xenoblade. I would love to, check out that remake, but it just escaped me. I didn't get a chance to do it, and I feel like that may have happened with more people too.
Ben, I think maybe Xenoblade, it feels like, not like this isn't a bad thing I'm striking against or anything, it just feels older compared to Persona in a lot of ways. It looks older too.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, it is
it's an older game,
point. I think maybe where some of the anger is coming from is I think people just want it to have its day in the sun because like it's always been kind of a fight with Xenoblade, right? Like there's the notorious battle to just get it released over here in the first place, and then it came, when the Wii was like on its last legs, and so it kind of faded into the background. And I think it's just such an exceptional game that's kind of fought, tooth and nail to get the recognition that it does have. That I think people just, when something is good and you see it get consistently snubbed, I think you just get frustrated.
Yeah,
that's all.
Trying to see if there's any other RPGs that would have like made a lot of sense. Trials of Mana, I definitely wouldn't see making it in there over some of these.
Someone in the comments echoed that you mentioned that Trials of Mana did well. I was talking down on Trials of Mana when we were talking about Square, and somebody echoed your sentiment like, yeah, Jones.
I think otherwise it does a pretty good job of covering things, but I think Genshin Impact being in there is weird, and Xenoblade not being in there is weird. And then also, again, we talked about earlier, like nobody got to play Demon's Souls, and that definitely would have fit in here.
Content creator is one category I definitely like. It's tough for me to weigh in on. There's at least 2, sometimes 3 nominees, and I'm like, I'm just not familiar with this name. It's a big industry, a lot of people creating content. But did see a lot of comments from people that were surprised Khalif Adams, aka Spawn on Me, was not mentioned or was not nominated because a lot of attention was given to him specifically in May and June of this year, where there's a lot of civil unrest, a lot of people fighting for civil rights, and he definitely took that and ran with it and did a lot of great work. Also, Scott Wozniak, aka Scott the Woz, who looks terrifyingly a lot like Bossman. A lot of replies about him. A lot of people saying that he should have been nominated as well.
Yeah, I only know 2 of these people, so
I'm surprised Girlfriend Reviews didn't get up here either.
Oh, good call.
They had a kind of an explosive year and have put out some fantastic stuff. So
yeah. Tim the Tatman's funny because he's just tortured for so many weeks. We're like, yes, we had a little bit of Schadenfreude there, so thank you for that. Brad, I love this because I definitely noticed this from your review, but a couple people mentioned John Eric Bentley as Barrett in Final Fantasy VII Remake, winning a great nominee for Best Performance. I think it's tough with Best Performance because it's usually leads, because they just have way more time. Jin, was nominated from Ghost of Tsushima.
I feel too that best performance so often goes to like the most obvious picks,
right?
And, and it's for good reason, again, because when we're talking about like a collective of like what everybody throws names into a hat, like what's the most common thing going to be,
Naughty Dog's going to scoop that up every time, this time twice. So, and Final Fantasy XIV not nominated for ongoing game. Shout out to Michael Damiani. They're doing good stuff over there. They had some, they're in between expansions, but they wrapped up Shadowbringers. A lot of people are saying they really enjoyed that.
I really liked Jill from Resident Evil 3 for best performance as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a risky thing to do, to update a character like that. Yeah, and I definitely liked her attitude. Game announcement.
Ooh.
This morning.
Oh, yeah.
Project 007 from IOI announced. That it. iOS making a Bond game. That's kind of all we know. Thank you. Bloodworth sent me the press release, which I thought this was interesting. This quote from Robert Matrick, who's MGM's Executive Vice President of Global Consumer Products and Experiences. He said, "We plan to bring a new take on this legendary franchise to gamers and Bond fans around the world," which means new Bond. To me, that's
right,
it's not going to be Craig. They're not like waiting to see who's going to be recast after Craig.
It's just going to be Agent 47. He just becomes James Bond.
That's the reveal at the end. It was him like the whole time. What a twist. But it's like kind of like Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man was incredibly successful at the box office, and then here comes Insomniac's brand new take. Now we get two Spider-Men. They had a second chance at it. We got a brand new one. Do you think people can accept this weird digital Bond? We've had them before, only video game Bonds that we're kind of all of them smushed together. Like Spider-Man, do you think that could be a hit? Just the character itself?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Accepting Bond to me is I don't even really care. I don't care. I don't need to associate Bond with a certain person or anything.
I don't think the Bond films, the last several Bond films, have been so good that that there can't be a reinterpretation of that character. Nor do I think Bond is currently at the top of relevance. I think there's plenty of room at this current moment for creative liberties that could be refreshing.
That's cool. They can just do whatever they want now.
You bring up an interesting point, though, Ben. Is it a good time to make a Bond game? Or start to? This game's probably not coming out for 2 or 3 years, but...
It's a good time to make a Bond game by this developer because it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
This is something where you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's perfect. That's who I would choose to make a Bond game. And so, because it's like peanut butter and jelly, I don't see why it would be bad at all. I think it's a game that could... Okay, so Hitman 1 and 2, the last two Hitman games, are fucking phenomenal. And if you haven't played them, you are missing some of the best games of this generation. And so I think with that in mind, this could be a game that you love the shit out of, even if you don't care about Bond at all. Mm-hmm. That's how well designed it could be.
Yeah, I really think that the comparison to Batman Arkham series and Spider-Man is very apt. I think this will stand on its own legs more than so many other franchise games. Even if you look at something like Shadow of Mordor, which really is almost not even related to Lord of the Rings. That game still feels like it's just kind of pulling on the coattails of that franchise in a way. Whereas with IO doing a fresh start and being able to bring their signature gameplay to it, and that feeling like it matches a spy thriller of any kind, I think it's going to work out really well. And honestly, the thing that makes me really happy about it is it's the position they've been in has made me very nervous about where that company can stand financially. Bouncing back and forth between some publishers and going independent and all that. And I was like, can they kind of hold it together with these big budget games, and particularly being just a one franchise studio, and now getting this contract really kind of, I think, puts them on some very solid footing for the next 4 or 5 years that it takes to make this game.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario that I could see I don't think this is necessarily going to happen, but just hypothetically, I think the worst thing that could happen is, hey, it's Hitman, but worse. Because Hitman really leans into its M rating in a fun way, where like throwing somebody into a wood chipper or chucking an axe at their head kind of defines part of the flavor of Hitman, that sort of like comical violence. And you can't do that with James Bond. James Bond is a decidedly PG-13 character.
Yeah, you can only hit people's balls.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
melee's not like a thing I really know Hitman for. It's a lot of like, you want to kill someone real quick, and there's a lot of punching in Bond movies. There's a lot of flipping dudes and chasing, so I wonder how much that's going to be featured or if they're going to expand on that.
It's cool. Sean Bean was in Hitman, right? Yeah. Some of the games?
Yes.
Dude, bring him back. Traveling, dude.
Yeah, I wish we had Huber on hand to talk about this, because I'm sure he's excited about it. I do have two concerns. I do have two things that that seem to fit Bond that aren't something I've necessarily seen IO do. Agent 47 is kind of deliciously bland in a way. He's bald. He's a kind of guy where like, I need to put on a mustache and a hat and you just think I'm a completely different person. Agent 47 is not a character I know for having a big quote unquote personality. Whereas Bond totally does. Like that's, you need to have a good Bond. Everybody's got their favorite Bond. And so I wonder if, that kind of writing, that casting, that, voice work, motion capture, I wonder if that's something that the studio is up for, or is going to, need to make big strides in to pull off a Bond license.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it like guarantees that they'll be able to pull off Bond successfully, but I don't know if you're giving IO enough credit for some of the characters that it comes up with. While Agent 47 is like very stoic, a lot of the characters that you interact with in the missions are fantastic and like good highlights of their own missions. And just some of the dialogue that you can overhear is pretty entertaining. And so I don't know. I don't think it's a concern necessarily.
The villains are probably going to be top notch in this game.
Oh my God.
There's definitely going to be some wacky scenarios. Also a lot of driving in Bond games. His car is a big thing when they announce it.
Yeah, that is true.
Driving in an IO game? Would if you played a Bond game with no driving in it, would that, I mean, there's not a lot of driving. You drive a tank in GoldenEye, but
yeah, I was just going to say GoldenEye. Like,
will that seem odd to play a Bond game without driving?
I don't think it'll seem too odd, but yeah, it really depends on what they, if they do that, what they want to do with it, because it could seem, I could see that becoming very on rails feeling kind of mission.
Right.
I mean, if you look at like the Bond movies themselves, right, like they're almost in different genres. So I don't think it's like, well, we have to have this, and this. Like, I think you could twist it in a way that maybe doesn't have some elements, but still feels very James Bond-esque.
True. I would be excited about that. If they made a Bond that feels different from anything else, that would be very exciting. Too early to announce this?
I mean,
fuck it. Just
it's
announce
Hollywood.
It. Yeah, just announce it. Whatever.
It's like the Avengers, man. Like, as soon as that studio inks the deal, like, they've got to announce it. So.
Yeah, and it's a fun announcement. You could for some reason, just from that trailer, I can tell I was so pumped, because I saw it before I saw the actual trailer. But if you were just to see the trailer, slowly panning into the gun barrel, slowly playing the theme. Fun trailer. Well done. And now, a word from our sponsors. I moved to a new place, and that means new places to walk my dog. Every night I walk my dog, and there's lots of more hills in my new neighborhood than there were. My calves are hurting. I got a Charlie horse for the first time in a while the other night. But when I head out into the unknown to try to find new paths to walk Sophie, who I wonder what her whole concept of walks are, I never leave without my Raycons. It's never too early to start gift shopping for the holidays, especially because today you can save big on a gift they'll use every day. Raycon wireless earbuds. With seamless Bluetooth pairing and a comfortable noise-isolating fit, you can start listening right away and keep listening for hours. The audio quality is amazing. I can contend to that, comparable to what you get from other premium brands, except Raycons start at half the price. So this holiday season, get them something they can use for calls or music or work or play at home or on the go. Or pick up a pair for yourself. Trust me, you're going to use them every day. Go to buyraycon.com/allies today to unlock exclusive deals up to 20% off of your Raycon order. But hurry, this offer is available for a limited time only, and you don't want to miss it. That's buyraycon.com/allies to unlock up to 20% off of your Raycons. Buyraycon.com/allies. Go to buyraycon.com/allies. Get 20% off of your Raycon order. Any of you guys buy Christmas presents in November? I definitely do not. I'm so late with my Christmas shopping. But it's an excellent point.
Sometimes.
It's always good to just get it out of the way.
Yeah, because I usually go back home, then it's like I don't even really think about shopping until we're on the ground. So we'll see. It's usually very, very late though.
I do that too when I used to go to Florida. The in-laws are coming over here this year, but yeah, when we get to Florida, I'm like, can I go to Best Buy real quick? Got some shopping to do. Also, our sponsor, Every Plate. Experience full plates and fuller wallets with America's best value meal kit. Get meals you'll enjoy and your bank account will love delivered right to your door. Obviously, this speaks to me because I'm not a big chef. I'm not a big cook. I know Ben is, and he rolls his eyes every single time I say that. Think of it this way: one meal is the. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Think of it this way: one meal is the same price as 1 cup of coffee. Every Plate dinners are the cheaper alternative to takeout or delivery. Every Plate offers contactless delivery to your doorstep for easy home cooking on a budget. Their easy-to-follow recipes or pre-portioned ingredients take the stress out of dinner time. Less time deciding what to cook means more time spent enjoying good food with family. Never buy more ingredients than you need because Every Plate's recipes come with everything already pre-measured. They also now offset 100% of their carbon emissions. Every Plate is constantly expanding their shipment zones. Check out to make sure your zip code is included where they ship at checkout. Go to everyplate.com and enter code ALLIES3, that's one word, ALLIES3, to get 3 weeks of Every Plate meals for only $2.99 per meal. That's 3 weeks of Every Plate meals for only $2.99 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code ALLIES3. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. So, what we are most likely not going to get very soon is definitive next-gen sales. I think, they are talking kind of about that, but we have gotten, according to Famitsu, released some next-gen sales numbers from Japan, and we actually have some Xbox numbers out of the UK. So we can do some fuzzy math to try to figure out.
That's gonna be real fuzzy.
Some comparisons between.
I thought you were gonna say like Xbox sales in Japan. I'd be like, well, is it like 12? Because.
What do you think?
Hey, no.
Got him.
That's not a slam on anybody. That's just
not a
how
slam.
it's been
That's just
forever.
Japan. Yeah.
Just fact, baby.
Yeah, that's just how it's been.
Let's start with the Xbox Series X and S. Ben, between November 10th and 15th, how many units do you think were sold in Japan of the Xbox Series X and S combined?
20,000.
Boom. Bullseye.
20,000?
Was that it?
20,534.
Nice.
Wow.
I did not know.
Man, I would go lower than that.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought about going lower. I did.
What's interesting is that mirrors the Xbox One, which sold 23,562 units in the first 4 days in Japan, so not the first week. Xbox 360 sold 60,000 in the first 2 days. Mm-hmm. So that number's not going up in Japan. That is not that console is not.
Well,
getting more
they
people.
made a much bigger Japanese push for the 360 for
this
sure.
Is very
Did they
true,
launch with Blue Dragon? Was that
they
the
didn't
game?
launch with it, but I think they might have already been talking about it by then.
I think that's when they were like still holding on to hope for that market.
Yeah.
And now I just don't. Yeah.
Tales of Swery, all that.
VGC reported that the Xbox Series X and S sold 155,000 units in the UK during its first week. From Microsoft CFO Tim Stewart, quote, I think we'll continue to see supply shortages as we head into the post-holiday quarter, so Microsoft's Q3, calendar Q1. And then when we get to Q4, all of our supply chain continues to go full speed, heading into kind of the pre-summer months. And that's where I expect to see a bit of the supply profile meeting the demand profile. Mm-hmm. That's a bit to wait until like March, April. They're like, there we go.
Man.
Now it finally.
I don't think it's unusual.
Yeah.
But
unusual for 2020 or unusual just for general console development?
just for console launches.
All right. It is an odd year, this past 2020.
Oh, yeah.
It is,
year.
but it doesn't sound like... It sounds like they've been able to overcome that on the supply side. You know, like Jim Ryan was saying that with PlayStation 5, they were able to put out more than for the PlayStation 4. So, you know, if you were thinking that supplier is going to be supremely impacted, that they would be like half that, right? So I don't think that they're in that different of a situation.
But I think what both parties are admitting at this point is that what you are seeing is supply. Like, you are not seeing, like, this is the total equivalent of demand for everybody wanting either of these consoles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are however many they can make right now, yeah.
Yep.
how many that we could send out there. Phil Spencer spoke at GlitchCon this past weekend, and he stated, the number one request I get over and over is, it's so hard to get these consoles right now. And I really apologize for that. I mean, we've been building them for almost 2 months now and trying to get as many into the stores as we can, but the demand is just so high. And Phil told The Guardian previously he does not plan on revealing sales figures even if they beat PS5. They did tweet that they had the largest day in Xbox history. They said the same thing about the Xbox One. So, again, when you hear that, coming from the actual company, that is responsible, you can always take that with a grain of salt. But Microsoft is being much more open about, again, apologizing for this, again, saying that, they are doing the best they can. Whereas Sony's being a lot more positive and a lot more cloudy about, how they're doing, how supply is doing, how much this is going to affect. We do not have a window of when the supply profile is going to meet the demand profile. What do you prefer? Kind of, Sony's, mystique, or, Microsoft's honesty, essentially coming out and saying, hey, we're sorry. We apologize for not having supply. Do they need to apologize?
I would definitely prefer honesty, I guess. Why would I want to not know something, I guess? Like, what's the point of it just being coy with me? Like, I don't really care either way, but yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to really affect it anyways. Yeah. These things are going to sell for a long time anyways.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you frame it that way, because even in your statement, you're like, Xbox is not going to tell us the numbers.
Yeah,
you're just going to consistently not tell us the numbers. There's a lot of mystique there.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating if you're just wanting to track the sales data.
Will more time without a console convince people they don't need it, or the opposite?
It depends on what type of video game consumer you are. I think that is a hard question to answer on a broad basis.
I think there's some people that will be frustrated, like right off the bat, and get and I'll just say, I'll just wait till next year. But I mean, yeah, if you are, consistently playing video games, it's at some point it's going to catch up to you. Like, you're either going to, in a few months say like, man, I really want to play this game in 60 frames per second or in 4K, or there's just going to be that game that comes out that like you can't get on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and so now it's time.
Just personally speaking, I mean, obviously we're in the heat of the moment still, so I have to keep that in mind. But I think this is the most satisfied I've been with a console launch in a very, very, very long time. I feel like I have a lot to play. I think it is fantastic that the backwards compatibility has been so strong. I think a lot of the new features have been extremely useful. For example, the DualSense is actually fantastic. And just, after experiencing how fast things are on Series X and on PlayStation 5, I don't know that I'll ever boot up my old consoles again. Like, I don't know if I can go back. Like, it's
no reason to.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
What's interesting, Ben, is like the phone grab move. I click the game, hit start, and then I just instinctively reach for my phone. It's like, I played lots of GTA 5, and that takes a long time. The same with Red Dead, and just like when I play Spider-Man, it's just strange to be like, oh, right.
It is eliminating the time that we spend on Twitter, which is only a good thing.
Yeah, always good.
Between November 12th and November 15th, the PlayStation 5 sold in Japan.
Oh, in Japan.
Japan, like 140?
150.
I'm going to say more than that.
Will you? 118.
118, okay.
118,085 consoles, digital edition included. The biggest selling physical game was Miles Morales at 18,640. Demon's Souls was second at 18,607. Souls almost beat Spider-Man, Brad.
Hell yeah.
But look at those numbers.
Just physical.
Look at that attach rate is really interesting, because it shows how much even in Japan digital is taking over. 100,000 consoles sold without either one of those games.
Without the package, without people, physically needing that and just getting digital.
Yeah.
Sony planned to make 5 to 6 million units in the first 2 quarters. They had previously sold 7.5 million PS4s in the same time. Bloomberg later reported that Sony reduced its estimates by about 4 million units, and Sony was like, no, we didn't. So it's just, again, it's just the kind of the caginess that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what those final numbers are if we actually get them. Obviously, this is just in Japan. For reference, the PlayStation 4 sold 309,154 units during its first week on sale in 2014.
So the first week versus first 3 days, a little tricky.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, probably at least double. You know, I don't know if if they had 4 more days, if they could break 150.
Right.
But again, I think that PlayStation 4 number speaks mostly just to the supply issue and just this wild year that I got to say, we can nitpick all this stuff, but the fact these consoles even launched in 2020, I think is impressive. And just some other fun Sony numbers. Spider-Man crossed the 20 million mark. Has nothing to do with Japan, but Spider-Man is now sold over 20 million. But the thing that's interesting is the remaster doesn't count because remaster is not a game. You can't buy remastered. You can buy Ultimate Edition, but that doesn't. It's not included in this. So Spider-Man got a nice little bump before it came out again, which is interesting. I think a lot of people were just maybe so hungry for Miles that they were like, I can't wait, and picked it up, or just everyone was just generally excited about it, and so it just kind of popped into people's minds. And
a little bit of everything.
Ghost of Tsushima has now sold 5 million copies.
Hell yeah!
So that's a success.
Good for Sucker Punch.
Yep, and getting those noms. So good week for Sucker Punch. Have you, Bloodworth, or Ben, or Brad, ever heard of Embracer Group?
No.
Vaguely, but I don't remember who they are.
Embracer Group owns a lot of stuff, and this week, just recently, they bought 13 new studios.
Whoa!
They previously last quarter they got 8 studios. They are an umbrella corporation over a lot of developers you might be familiar with.
I don't know if that's the right term to use, but okay.
Yeah, not a Resident Evil comparison. I'm just saying umbrellas.
I liked it, Jones.
THQ Nordic and Deep Silver are among their largest drivers. THQ Nordic made them 66 million last year, I believe, and 59 million from Deep Silver. Let's play a game. I want to throw these 13 companies at you and see if any of these stick. See if you recall any of these, and I've written down what they are most known for. Coffee Stain North.
Nope.
North only?
Specifically, Coffee Stain North is who they picked up, but if you know what Coffee Stain is...
You don't want a coffee stain in the South.
You do.
Coffee Stain, is that Goat Simulator? Or?
Yeah!
There it is.
Which was a while ago. Satisfactory is actually doing very well for them right now. That is a game that, man, I think I should make time for because I was reading about it. First-person game where you are building a factory, you are setting up supply chains. I've seen a lot of people talk about that online, trying to figure out what's the best way to farm certain things or how to set up. I guess when you set things close to things, you get bonuses and stuff like that. That's easily a game I could get obsessed with. Quantic Lab.
No idea.
I
know it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
That one sounds familiar.
It does, but it's not a developer. It's a QA testing facility.
Okay.
Oh.
Then, yeah, no idea.
So I checked them out, and they had all these games. I was like, I didn't know they made all these games. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. They're just a QA testing facility, which is just something we don't talk about a lot on this podcast.
Maybe it's the Quantic, like Quantic Dream. I don't know.
Right.
An important part of game development.
Snapshot Games.
Oh, nope.
No.
What about Phoenix Point?
Yeah.
That is the game that they are known for.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's from the from the
Phoenix Point.
It's from the guy who created XCOM.
Ago.
This is also his studio. And it was neat. I actually checked up on Phoenix Point, and they got a lot of fun content, a lot of cool DLC updates.
Oh, sweet.
On the horizon.
They've been talking up their updates.
Flying Wild Hog.
Yes.
Oh, I know this.
Mm-hmm.
You know the game too, Ben, or are you just waiting on Blood?
Shadow Warrior?
See if he gets it? Yeah. Nice, Blood.
Well,
nice, dude.
Also, you could do... They're also Painkiller, right?
I don't know. I did not see that come
I think
up.
that's correct.
Wait, Painkiller is People Can Fly, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
I'm getting the
you're
flying is... You're right. It's People Can Fly.
The
I'm getting the flying is mixing me up there.
People Can Fly with Wild Hogs. Apparently, they're working on 4 titles 4 different
Holy
games.
shit, 4?
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, they made that E3 game too.
Oh.
Oh, that's right. Purple Lamp Studios.
Oh, dude, I like. This name is like ringing a bell so hard, but I can't think of what it is.
You might have reviewed this one recently, Brad. The last game they made.
Don't say recently to me. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It narrows it down a little bit. Purple Lamp Studios made SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated.
There it is.
Oh yeah. Cool.
34 Big Things.
Nope.
I don't
Not
know
a
these
clue.
games. Redout, Super Inefficient Gold, and Hyperdrive Massacre.
Nope.
Redout I heard of.
There you go.
I heard of that.
Mad Head Games.
Nope.
These are getting pretty random. I don't blame you for not getting these. Adam Wolf is apparently their own IP, and they mostly make PC Mac games. Almost all the games that they make are also available on Mac. Nimble Giant Entertainment.
Vaguely, but maybe not. I don't know.
They're developing Quantum League. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Well, it should ring. I asked you about it earlier today, Blood. But Brad and Ben.
Is that
Quantum League.
I don't know if it's correct. Is that the game with like the time loop or whatever?
It is.
Okay.
Very similar to Lemnis Gate,
Okay.
which we have talked about previously on the podcast. And when we brought up Lemnis Gate, Ian Hank brought up Quantum League. So interesting to see those two games compared against each other. Sandbox Strategies.
Wait. Really?
Sandbox
That's
Go on.
Strategies.
weird.
Yeah.
Go on, Bloodworth.
They're the PR company. They represent a ton of games.
They do.
Oh.
New York-based
They-
PR
they're
and
kind
influencer
of-
relations.
Yeah, they're kind of. It's weird because a lot of the time, they kind of are like supportive. I guess because there will be like a main PR company that I'll tend to deal with, but then I'll also get emails from Sandbox about a lot of the same games. So it's not that often that I'll actually deal with Sandbox directly, but I mean I do a lot. So interesting.
Zen Studios.
Oh wow. Yeah, the pinball games.
Pinball FX and Zen Pinball. They also make Castle Storm, which is near and dear to my heart,
Oh.
which I checked out. And
A lot of freaking studios.
a lot of studios,
Yeah,
man.
wow.
And I mean, if they did
the
8
heck?
last quarter and 13 this quarter, they are not slowing down. Also, just noting that some of these acquisitions aren't like finished. You know, some of this stuff they're
Right.
they're
Oh,
still
sure.
working out the fine print. Silent Games. Silent Games. It's so appropriate. You haven't heard of them because they haven't made anything. Silent Games. It's a 4-person team. They have a new IP that's not coming out until 2023. So for right now,
Okay.
Okay.
they're very silent. A Thinking Ape.
Great name.
Do not know.
Ape Out. Did they make Ape Out? Damn.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? The 82-member Canadian team that mostly makes free-to-play games. Yugo Mobile Entertainment. No. Don't expect you to get that. Free-to-play games as well. They did The Walking Dead Road to Survival and Middle-earth Shadow of War Mobile.
Whoa, I didn't even know that existed.
Okay.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Looks kind of cool. It's
Does
got
it?
Yeah, because it's not stuck to, because like you were saying, Blood, earlier, it's funny that you brought that up, that Shadow of War is like Middle Earth, but not. And this game is like, you want to be Gimli? Get Gimli in there. You know, do you want to be Gandalf?
Oh.
Let's do it. Looks kind of interesting, actually.
Is it like that Marvel game you play in the Star Wars one? Like that kind of vibe?
It's not turn-based. It's top-down, and it kind of looks like the AI takes over. Like you just send your dudes in there, and they just start fighting, and then like there's cooldowns where you can pick like who does what.
Okay.
Kind of reminds me of like
Brad, that sounded like a very dad moment for you, where you're like, Brandon, is that like that?
Dude,
Marvel
when it's a
or
mobile game,
play?
like, you talk to me about mobile games, I am like a boomer in mobile games. I'm like, dude, Cut the Rope is sick, and
Yep.
Angry Birds.
Is that thing
That's
on
about
Snake?
it.
I am the oldest ally, but whenever mobile comes up, I'm a kid again.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm relevant. Because I'm sure listeners of this podcast love when I talk about mobile. Again, none of these are 100% acquisitions. Some of these will remain quote-unquote independent. The company now, meaning Embracer Group, now has 135 games in development.
Wow.
Up from the paltry 86 they had in development last year.
Jeez.
And, you know, of course, these, you know, we have some, you know, PR firms and stuff like they got their hand in everything. So these are obviously games of all sorts of shapes and sizes. Embracer Group with these acquisitions increased their headcount by 49% to 4,445. 3,593 of those are game developers. What do you think about this? I wanted to bring this up because I was curious if you knew these companies, and just because I was, you know, to put Embracer Group out there into the world. Should we be scared of companies like this? Is this like Monopoly vibes? Or is this, you know, or is it like, yay, these companies are going to get some nice financial backing and maybe going to get to do some cool stuff?
I don't know.
It's one of these things where it's just it feels like this unknown shadow company above everything is like,
yeah,
almost like ZeniMax, right? When they had Bethesda, and like, who is ZeniMax? I don't know. You know, it's like you only know them because of everything underneath of them, and so it feels sort of similar here, to where it's like, oh, okay, so you start bringing up like the companies, the bigger companies that they own and what they'd make and all that, but if all that stuff feels so unrelated, you know, that this is just like some, you know, gigantic financial spider web that sort of links them together but doesn't really. So
will whenever Embracer Group buys stuff next, I don't know if that will be relevant.
Will you be embraced by Embracer Group?
This is true, yeah. That's what else does the Embracer Group do? Just going around hugging small companies.
You got any esports? You know, what side of the industry do they not have?
Now that is boomer. Yeah, you got any esports?
You gonna buy a magazine?
Need some esports. Twitch saw record viewership in October. I mean, just the same of game sales and everything. You know, lots of people are playing games. Records are being broken.
But how much
right
of it was
left.
Deleted, Brandon?
But specific, well, yeah, archives. We'll get to that. This is according to both Stream Elements and Arsenal.gg. 1.6 billion hours watched.
Wow.
During October. That is almost double the 839 million hours watched last October in 2019. Just chatting, as I expected, the most watched category for 6 months running. 200 million hours so far, just chatting. So whenever we talk
if you're
about
gonna delete all the gamers, then you know that's good news.
Not much left.
Don't have to worry about those music rights.
I'm really curious to see the November numbers because, you know, talking about people having a hard time getting their hands on consoles, Twitch being able to be like, hey, you can check out these new, you can check out pretty much probably any game on these new consoles at any time. It's just an interesting environment for that.
Ben, I saw somebody made a PC game where you have a PS5 in the PC game. It's just like you can have the experience, like hold the DualSense up.
That's very clever.
Yeah, it's funny.
Is it in Dreams?
That'd be, I bet. I bet there's a lot of PS5 nonsense in Dreams. I got to check back in. Facebook gaming, shockingly, not as competitive. Hours watched were down slightly in October, but still double year over year. Even Facebook gaming's winning now.
I've like pretty much cut Facebook out of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels so, I don't know, unnecessary now.
Ben, sorry to say, in the last year, I created my second Facebook account because I don't remember my password for the first one, and I had to play Oculus multiplayer. So.
Oculus!
Yeah, you got me.
Oh. They got you.
They got me.
Oh my God.
I have to double check because as time goes on, Facebook is slowly going to absorb more and more of Oculus. So I got to pay attention to that. Twitch has done two things this year that a lot of streamers are not fans of. One, advertising is out of control.
Dude, it sucks.
I'm seeing a lot of people post just literally like how many ads they're getting in a certain amount of time. It's a scary thing because you can't see that. So a lot of the stuff you have to get reported back from your viewers. And as we've previously reported on the Easy Allies podcast, DMCA takedowns are out of control. Now they're happening over in-game sound effects like wind. They're like, hey, that's our wind. But I wonder if this is like a Nintendo situation where it's like streamers are viewers and streamers are frustrated with Twitch. Twitch just had their record viewership. What do they care? Right?
Oh, I think they're very concerned about this. Yeah, they sent out that big letter, which I think we talked about last week or the week before.
They posted a blog where they apologized.
Yeah, it's, you know, they're in the worst spot, but it really, like, it's going to come down to them and for the rest of the industry to try to work this crap out. It doesn't make any sense.
This feels very similar to YouTube for me, where, like, is anybody truly 100% happy with YouTube? But it's embedded in life now. Like it's just whether you like it or dislike it, I feel like it's just kind of so ubiquitous. And I feel the same thing with Twitch. Like Twitch is synonymous with streaming. Like when you think of game streaming, you think of Twitch. I think that is true for most people. And so as this company grows, you get the unfortunate side effects of that growth, which we also saw with YouTube.
Yeah. It just sucks that they're like so far behind on this stuff that they haven't figured out, the methods that will, even if people aren't happy, like, right, like the YouTube problems of Content ID, that's one thing, and it creates a lot of issues, particularly for people that, get their living off of the YouTube revenue. But it's nothing compared to the threat of, your channel might get, a whole bunch of DMCA strikes in one day and just be nuked, and you don't even have the ability to search your videos.
Yep.
Like, what? Excuse me?
Twitch issued tools, and they're like, here, you have 3 days to use them. Have fun. Maybe developers might save us, though. There's going to be an option in Cyberpunk 2077 that they just talked about in the latest Night City Wire that disables copyrighted music, replacing it with other music, presumably not as good. I feel bad for the people that wrote that. They're like, oh, we're the second tier, thanks. But there is a level in Sackboy that plays Uptown Funk for like the level. It's the point of the level. Like,
Jones.
Without it.
Oh, Jones.
And
you
Brad,
have no idea. There's a lot
you
in that game.
It without the music.
Yeah, it sucks.
What was that like?
It sucks because there's like a couple levels in the game like that are just straight up like there's David Bowie in the game, and it's like just dance, and the whole level is revolving around going with the music. And when you have that, it just like it sucks. It's like, what's happening?
I mean, this might be what's happening might be the future of.
And there's like instrumental versions of other songs. There's like Material Girl, but like in a weird underwatery theme with no singing or anything. But I'm like, oh, this is Madonna. I know this. Would this get striked or something?
This has made me more interested in Sackboy than I've ever been.
Dude, Sackboy is good.
Nice.
I'm not trolling. It's good.
I haven't. Let's play.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of like BioShock Infinite, right? Because it had all of those songs that like you didn't quite catch it until that's that song, and would that stuff get picked up? I guess it depends on whether they're in the DMCA's databanks or not.
Yeah,
I do think that Cyberpunk option though is very forward thinking, and it would be nice if. Because
more games had that.
Yeah, I really think streaming benefits games so much, and so I think the more that developers can accommodate it, the better off they'll be.
Yeah, I think Sony is in a position to where they can do a lot of good on this, and I hope that they do, because they have Sony Music. They are part of both of these industries, and hopefully they can talk across that divide. I know that. With some of the YouTube stuff that we've had come up with God of War and Last of Us with, Content ID things that would like block our videos, and then like, okay, I talk to my people, and then they somehow talk to Sony Music, and then eventually everything gets cleared up and everything works. But something on like a bigger scale of that essentially needs to happen between Twitch, between PlayStation, between Sony Music, and then between the mega organizations that really like run all of the music mafia, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot that the Last of Us Part 2 review that we posted was the second tier version. That I had a version of that with just all the best music in that game, and I was like, we can't use it. Also related, possibly, Twitch co-founder Kevin Lin is departing Twitch after 13 years. That's just actually, the news popped out today. He was the COO from 2008 on. He was around when it was Justin.tv. He's a very positive departure. He's moving on to new things. He's excited to join a small team and build something up again, but it does kind of echo kind of this changing of the guard that's happening on Twitch. Just lots of very interesting changes. I guess Twitch had like a 24-hour because they can't have the TwitchCon, so I guess they had like their own weird little digital convention thing. That was
GlitchCon. Was that it?
Yeah.
Or was that something else?
No, that was it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It was odd. Apparently, I did not watch it. So there you go, Twitch. Hopefully they will Twitch fix it. Will Sony fix it? Will CD Projekt Red fix it? We'll see. Also this week, here are a bunch of other headlines. Actually worth noting, for the first time ever, the Easy Allies podcast, I gave timestamps to 2 of these also this week's, because I told Bloodworth that Codemaster got bought, and you shared a lot of wonderful things about that. And Ben, you talked a lot about the new Dead by Daylight villain. So if any of you want to jump in and talk about these things, you're more than welcome. The Switch had the second best October of any console ever.
Damn.
That happened right before we recorded the podcast, so that did not make last week. That news was from Thursday of last week. Almost beating the Wii, of course, the most dominant console.
My sister just got a Switch, and she has been looking for one like all year, and so she just finally got one. And this is like her first proper video game console, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've seen some people in comments, on the podcast being like, "Hey, I think the Switch is going to do really well this, this holiday season as well." And I definitely echo that. I think we've shared that sentiment in the podcast before. With demand being what it is, it's going to be interesting to see if the Switch just beats everything. Apple is cutting App Store share to 15% for small developers that earn less than $1 million per year, which does not qualify Epic Games, which is hilarious. Speaking of Epic Games, in-game video chat is coming to Fortnite's virtual hangouts, provided by a company called House Party. That'll work on PC, PS4, and PS5. So you can have
in-game video chat.
You can have a little space on your screen for all your friends.
Okay, I was like, I immediately just thought of like some random dude in a Fortnite lobby with his camera on, and I was like, oh my god, that's a terrible idea.
To virtual hangouts, which do exist, which a lot of people are saying is probably less prevalent toward Battle Royale and probably more prevalent toward like the big events and concerts and movies and stuff. So you can be watching those and talking to your friends at the same time.
As somebody who doesn't give a shit about Fortnite but cares a lot about video games, it's really fascinating. Like, just to hear stories about it, because it seems like it's becoming like its own sovereign state. Like, it just is like so big and doing so many crazy things that
so many new things happen, Ben, with the Epic versus Apple suit that I'm just so happy not to mention on this podcast every week.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait till the dust settles and maybe we can dedicate a whole podcast to it. I don't know, but what a dumb thing to still be happening. Pokemon Go updated their... there's a Pokemon Go update coming. It's going to raise the level cap, add Gen 6 Pokemon, seasons, and more. And as we just talked about in previous podcasts, Pokemon Go is doing very well. Making billions there over at Pokemon Go.
Wow, Pokemon thing doing well? I'm shocked.
Genshin Impact was the top-grossing mobile game worldwide in October. Nearly $239 million. Just from the mobile game of Genshin Impact. Bringing up mobile again. The TIE Defender and B-Wing are coming to Star Wars Squadrons, among other free updates, which, according to EA, was not planned. They were like, we just heard a lot of really great... Again, it's a grain of salt. But, we're hearing a lot of this feedback from our community and new map based on something that's in the campaign, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Also getting fun updates. Animal Crossing Winter Update was announced. It's due November 19th. Got more storage, holiday events. Got a turkey making Thanksgiving food. Not sure how I feel about that.
He's been around for a while.
Happy birthday, Stadia. Stadia's 1 year old.
Yay.
The public testing for the iOS version will begin, quote, several weeks from now, end quote.
Cool.
Wrestling Superstars, The New Day, are coming to Gears 5 as playable characters, all 3 of them. Which is fun. Batista's in there too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, oh, wait, there's a lot of weird shit in that game.
There is a lot of weird shit in that game.
Sorry, I just want to mention one quick thing about Stadia.
Sure.
Since we do dog on it all the time, but I checked in with it fairly recently, and if you are subscribed to Stadia Pro, the amount of games in that library now is actually like pretty crazy, and there's a lot of good stuff, and so that's nice to see that it's filled out so effectively.
There was a hostage situation at Ubisoft Montreal that turned out to be a hoax.
This was wild.
That was wild. It only lasted a couple hours, and nothing came out of it. And Ubisoft Montreal released a statement where they said thank you to everybody. That thankfully everyone is still safe, and thank you to everyone's their demeanor dealing with that issue. And speaking of unfortunate situations for companies that we love, Capcom was hit by a ransomware attack where 1 terabyte of employee and customer data was stolen. They were basically held ransom, and they said no. So sorry that happened, but. Kudos to Capcom. Super Mario Sunshine got a GameCube controller support in Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Every week, something fun gets added to this game.
Like I haven't picked up 3D All-Stars yet, so I haven't seen how they do it. But part of me is like, how do you how does Flood work without those GameCube triggers? Like for some reason Nintendo has just not had any form of analog triggers since then.
Yeah,
so.
it doesn't feel as good, bud.
Yeah, so that's
gotta
amazing.
use the GameCube controller.
The U.S. Gamers EIC and the last 3 riders are being made redundant at the end of the year. So tip of the hat to the U.S. Gamers folks. That is unfortunate news, but hopefully they move on to greener pastures. AC Valhalla is the biggest AC franchise opening of all time. The biggest Ubisoft PC launch.
Wow.
Yeah. So kudos to that team.
It's it's so funny because like Huber was like a week ago, Huber was talking positively about AC Valhalla, and I played a little bit of it, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And then he like this week he's like, I'm 100 hours in, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna drop this. Like, I don't know if I can commit 100 hours to this thing.
That is a game Huber is very passionate about that ran him into the ground.
Yeah.
He's actually still passionate in his impressions, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Like,
yeah,
when you're trying to finish a game and it doesn't end, it can feel like a drag.
Yeah.
Well, just that 100 hours, dude. That's a lot of hours.
Blood, I'm looking forward to getting like a 6-page script from Huber and like 12 clips for the review.
Under the bus, not
damn, dude.
Under the bus, yeah, man. Woo. Under the bus.
Rolled.
Developer Abbey Light had their Twitter account suspended. They don't know why. And they reached out to Twitter. Twitter didn't respond. Abbey Light, not a developer that I know of. Not necessarily a way you want to get notoriety, but if anybody can help out Abbey Light, let them know. We had another war table on Avengers. Kate Bishop in Avengers was delayed and is now coming December 8th. The next DLC is called Future Imperfect. And they teased a little Black Panther in that teaser. Yep. Had a crazy future Hulk with like balding, like gray balding hair.
Excellent.
And at his feet was the helmet of Black Panther. GTA Online teased adding a new island called El Rubio. This is the first land expansion ever since 2013, since the game launched. First time they've added anything to the game, yeah. So very curious. They're always very sneaky about the way that they announce stuff and tease it to their audience.
Was it supposed to be a Catalina or something?
Could be, yeah. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know specifically what that's based on. Maybe it's like a South American thing. Maybe it's just like going to Cuba or something. I wonder. GameStop, right before we recorded this podcast, started calling customers and telling them Doom Eternal on Switch is canceled. Somebody tweeted at Bethesda. Bethesda said, we have nothing to say on that. But
say something, damn it.
Fascinating coming from GameStop.
What do you mean you got nothing to say on that?
To say?
Yeah. So we'll see. Tune into the next podcast or follow Bethesda on Twitter to see if they have any official word about that. And shout out to everybody that had to wait a week to play the PlayStation 5. A lot of people in UK and Europe are finally getting these consoles.
Yep.
Of course, shout out to everybody that was not able to get a Series X and PlayStation 5. Somebody on our Patreon reached out and said, it's one thing if you pre-order the PS5 and then you get the email saying that pre-order didn't work. Somebody bought it. Somebody on our Patreon got it. And then 3 seconds later, they were like, no, I'm kidding. We ran out of stock after you actually purchased the console.
Enjoy Demon Souls, yo.
But at least, it's available in some of these things. Poor Ben would have beaten Demon Souls right now if he didn't have to record this damn podcast.
True. Actually true.
True, yeah.
It is time for Love and Respect.
Love and respect.
From John Wojtkowski. I like buying games physically. A wall of my living room proudly displays a library of physical game cases, and I like being able to lend games to my family and friends. I also like buying games digitally. I'm lazy and don't want to swap discs, especially when using remote play. In this current generation, the physical disc is even more useless than ever. Now that the gen is over, I've been thinking back to the disastrous Xbox One reveal. Was Microsoft maybe onto something with their forced DRM game install thing? The gen people are happily buying entire consoles that lock them into a single storefront with no trading or resale whatsoever. Do you think Microsoft was right to completely scrap this, or should they have worked out all the major concerns, making it opt-in, allowing resale and trading without additional fees? Imagine the best of both worlds for physical collectors. Could this make a return, but in a way we'll actually embrace?
You need both. They needed both like that. And I think they were a little too early for something like that. So online, was too early.
They were just taking a bunch of things away without offering any great reason for getting excited about that. And I think there's just you have to provide consumers options, and a lot of people rely on being able to resell things to buy new games.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's really gotten that much traction, but I know that there have been talks and conversations that people have had about, consumer rights and the ability to quote unquote sell digital copies of games too. And so I'll be really curious to see whether that ever gets off the ground and how that kind of thing would work. But that's sort of the closest thing I can think of to compare to what Xbox One's wacky scheme was doing with retailers and all of that. But yeah, I think physical is definitely getting in a weirder and weirder place, particularly now with these consoles that don't even have the disk drives, even though they don't have the hard drive space to back it up. But for me right now, it's I am getting to a place to where I feel less and less incentive to get physical, to purchase physical. It's more of I want the option. If someone is gonna send me a game or give me a game as a gift, that to me is more convenient for them to be able to just pick it up off the shelf at the store and send that to me, than try to figure out PlayStation Network or whatever, or even gift cards can seem a little bit distant to some people. They would rather get the game that they think you'll like rather than get you a gift card.
It's also important at the launch of these consoles where the libraries aren't so fully featured that you have backwards compatibility, and the fact that you can stick in these discs to get that value if you already have them, I think is super appreciated. But Blood, to your point about hard drive space, what was very much a not next gen moment is I downloaded Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War
on the
PS5, and the PS5 was like, yeah, that's it. Like, you're out of space.
Dude.
And it was like, what?
Yeah.
This is nonsense.
Because the PS5 is less than the Pro, correct? In terms of usable space?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I think the Pro had 1 terabyte and the PS5 has like 800.
Yeah.
It becomes 600 something when the OS is accounted for.
Ben, I have never had a problem with console space before, and the PS5, I finally did it. Because it was the transfer. I was like, let me transfer everything over to my PS4. And the PS5 was like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah,
Do you really want to play Maneater? Are you really going to play Maneater? And I'm like, I guess not. Jeez.
Yeah.
To the PS5's credit, I did accidentally download the PS4 versions, I think, of Miles Morales.
Right.
And Spider-Man Remastered, so I got some things off and was fine, but yeah, Call of Duty big.
It would be sweet if it just downloaded the PS5 version when you're playing on a PS5.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that it's there, but you start mashing the button to just download the thing. Yeah, and you don't see the checkboxes.
Correct.
But that's where Xbox has a little bit of a leg up with smart delivery, because who wants the PS4 version?
Right.
I guess it's nice to have the option if for some reason you're going to do a comparison video or something, but...
Right. That just seems like such an edge case.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just got to mention that, of course Xbox had to walk away from that because Sony's reply was like maybe the sweetest burn in the history of the console wars.
Right.
Just that video between Boyce and Shu. And they were like, there's our response. It's like, how do you hold your ground?
We talk about all of this and more in the Gen That Was 2013 episode, if you'd like to check it out.
Ben, I'm going to keep bringing up the old gen as much as I possibly can. So keep promoting that excellent series every week. From Cody Spencer, hey allies, I hope everybody's enjoying their next-gen consoles. I managed to get a Series X and it just arrived the other day. I spent all day checking the door anytime I heard a noise, only for it to be 3 other packages, a trash truck, and a bus. But it's here. I got Game Pass, I'm currently playing Wasteland 3 and Hellblade, so let's keep the jolly vibes going with the game. What do you say? I call it New Faces in New Places. I'll list 2 games or franchises and swap their protagonists. Everything else about the game remains the same. Which games, with the new main character, would you rather play? Love and respect, Cody. Number 1. Leon S. Kennedy as the lead of Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, or Marcus Phoenix as the lead of Resident Evil 2, 4, and 6.
Definitely Marcus Phoenix as the lead of 2.
Yeah, holy
Marcus
shit.
Phoenix in RE4.
Wesker! Oh my god.
Like him just taking a chainsaw to the zombies. Yeah, like it's
That'd be
He knows what
hilarious.
to do with the chainsaw guy. He just getting that duel, the chainsaw duel.
Oh yeah. Chop his head off. Kratos in every Kirby game or Kirby in every God of War game?
Kirby in every God of War game.
Kirby and God of War
Yeah.
is too good.
With the
That's
axe,
too good.
dude.
It would just become
The sex
horrifying.
scenes with Kirby.
Yeah.
Sucking up a god or something.
Sam in The Last of Us or Joel in Death Stranding? Not as easy, that one.
I think Sam in The Last of Us, I'd be really
Sure.
curious on his take on that character.
Master Chief in the Metroid series or Samus in the Halo series?
Samus in
I-
Halo, I guess.
I think Samus in Halo, yeah.
Ice beam and jumping on things in Halo could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think both of those characters are obviously iconic in their things, but I don't know if I could do Metroid without Samus. Like I don't know.
Joker in Final Fantasy VII or Cloud in Persona 5?
Cloud in Persona 5.
Yeah,
for
that'd be
sure.
amazing.
And I
He'd
think
be
this is the
so
original.
uncomfortable.
He'd
He'd
be
be
the original FF7.
He'd be so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Cloud on all these dates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just like you can't do social links with anybody. It goes up like 2 levels maybe. That's max.
Him like walking into his high school class with his goddamn Buster Sword and just
Yeah.
sitting down and like clanking on the ground.
All the texts, he's like, I don't know. Leave me alone. I don't know.
Yeah, leave me alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
You imagine him like in those that gym outfit, the red gym outfit.
Yeah. Dude, I want that now. Shit.
Agent 47 in the Banjo-Kazooie series or Banjo and Kazooie?
Oh my
Hitman.
god, dude, Banjo like
Banjo
choking
and
someone
Hitman
out
would be
Yeah,
so
with
good.
the wire would be the best.
Dude, when Kazooie shoots the eggs.
Yeah. Go to
Slow-mo.
sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, I'm actually pissed that doesn't exist.
Thank you for that. From Raymond Spiller. Hi, Elias. I've been loving playing through Yakuza Like a Dragon. Its quirky sense of humor and cast of characters keeps a constant smile on my face. Upon reflection, I've realized it's a game I've been seeking for a while. A Japanese RPG with a cast that isn't a bunch of anime high school kids. Don't get me
Sure.
wrong. I love
Fair.
my dose of traditional anime-style JRPGs, but it's refreshing to take charge of a ragtag cast of middle-aged misfits. Are there any other genres that you think could benefit from a similar departure from traditional tropes and themes? Love and respect, Rye from Australia.
Very good question.
Hmm.
I think horror relies on a lot of the same sort of stuff. Like it's a lot of
Yeah.
zombies and monsters and ghosts and that sort of thing. And all that stuff is great. I love all that stuff. But I am surprised at the lack of horror that deals with just like scary human beings or like more realistic, horrifying scenarios. I think there's a lot of game potential there.
Yeah, like 12 minutes is borderline horror, you know?
Yeah.
Just this idea of you being trapped. Very
Right.
gothic horror is being trapped, you know, and not knowing how
Right.
to get out and, you know, having to relive these horrible moments again and again.
I think shooters are pretty stale a lot of times as well. It's like when I think of shooters, it's like, well, it's either sci-fi or military so much of the time.
Dude, make Call of Duty anime.
Yeah.
That'd be way more interesting.
Would it
That's
sell more or
interesting.
less? I don't know.
More, damn it.
The mixed success of Watch Dogs Legion though is it's funny because like part of the reaction was that, right? Like seeing the old lady, you know, in those trailers, and obviously that effect wore off. But yeah, I think that's part of what resonated with people is like you don't expect that, you know, you don't expect a mom to be going around hacking into places. And so yeah, I think that kind of thing definitely can work.
Also, just shout out to Among Us, just completely flipping multiplayer scenarios on its head. Obviously, following in the footsteps of a lot of games that had done traditional like subterfuge and stuff. Yeah. And Fall Guys for just like this is battle royale technically. So interesting to see people copying or bouncing off those ideas in the years to come.
This just made me think. I was playing some Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War campaign recently, and there's a level where you're just kind of sneaking around and it's stealth, and since it's in the Cold War era, it kind of has that sort of James Bond feel to it, which campaign was made by Raven Software, who is criminally underrated. And I was just thinking, man, I would love a whole COD game like this. Like, do you have the balls to make a campaign where there's like no running and gunning whatsoever, but it's subterfuge and using gadgets and all that stuff?
I would love that too.
Like, I just don't know why they couldn't do it, because Call of Duty has so many different things where it's like, well, if you don't like the campaign, there's still multiplayer, zombies, Warzone, like still 3 other things. So like, let's just get wild with the campaign and do something we've never done before.
Yeah, it's like they got rid of a campaign for one of the games. Like, it doesn't even fucking matter. Do it.
And finally, a quick story from Caleb Moran, who has not only shared this with us, but I have something I usually don't do love and respect, 2 responses from other patrons. The story kind of comes full circle. G'day, allies. Video games here in Australia are in a bit of a funky place recently. Our games and consoles get marked up. PS5 and Series X go for around 750 Australian dollars, which is around 550 in the US. Not a staggering increase, but a significant amount nonetheless. But imagine my surprise when I walked into my local shop to look at some games and saw none other than Godfall Standard Edition for PS5 for 125 Australian. That's around 91 US dollars for the standard edition of the game.
Do not buy.
I was shocked at the price and checked digitally to see if it was about the same. Not only are our games more expensive, but our ratings board is very trigger happy with the banhammer. Most recently, The Medium, Bloober Team's upcoming game, was refused classification in Australia. Reasons have not been publicly stated so far. This isn't the only game, however, that has had trouble. State of Decay, We Happy Few, South Park Stick of Truth, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Outlast 2, and DayZ have all had trouble with our ratings board. I'm not even sure if I have a final point to make here, but just wanted to share how ridiculous it can get with an otherwise easygoing country. Love and respect. Caleb from Australia, who is really looking forward to The Medium. Alexander Zirianov, a very dedicated ally, swings in to the rescue. Tip: you can change your region on Xbox, and this will grant you access to another region store. The nicest thing? Your Game Pass subscription will still work. I recently did this for a game that was banned in my region. Matthew Borg adds, also an Australian here, I believe in the case of The Medium, it was refused classification because of the answers the developer provided in an automated tool that is used in various countries. The Australian classification board itself didn't look at the game. Hopefully with a slight delay and an appeals process, it'll be rated something like R18 in time for release. Fingers crossed.
Wow. Fingers crossed.
But apparently they didn't, dot some I's or cross some T's there with The Medium. It's just paperwork, man.
I mean, anytime you go through these automated questionnaires, it's just like, I guess this, sometimes on YouTube, I don't see it happen as often when uploading to the main channel, but I definitely have to go through like this questionnaire of like content in your video to like see like what ads it's appropriate for. And sometimes, you're like, I guess I'll check the swearing box because I don't know if anyone swore in this video or not.
Yeah.
And we never really brush up against the things that would, limit us, but it is one of those things when you're just leaving it up to essentially Google Forms to provide the answers. You can accidentally find yourself on the wrong side of a line that you're like, no, like just look at the thing, it's okay.
Those sorts of restrictions and censorship are so frustrating. Like when you're a working adult who can separate fact from fiction, to have those kinds of decisions being made for you over like M-rated video games is just eye-rolling, like, and tedious. It just sounds ridiculous to me. Mm-hmm.
But one of the great pleasures of this job is getting these stories from around the world to people.
Absolutely. It's a good perspective to have.
Yeah, and again, shout out to Alexander and to Matthew for jumping in and helping out. Again, hopefully that is a game that you get to play. It is time for bets. Next week's bet. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity launches tomorrow, or potentially if you have early access the day you're listening to this podcast, November 20th. I'm going to check the Nintendo eShop next week when we record the podcast. Where will it be on the featured list in the eShop? There are 28 total slots on this featured list. Games are listed side by side. I'm going to go left to right. 1 and then 2, left to right, and then go down the list. What slot is that going to be in? Daniel Bloodworth.
I'll go with 2. I don't know what else is going to get up in that slot, but for some reason I think they're going to put something else there.
Again, this is features, not bestsellers. This is Nintendo's call on what to put where. Ben,
yeah.
What do you think?
I put number 1.
Ah.
That's a terrible one, but it's there.
We'll see, Brad.
Don't pump the brakes on Zelda. Number 1.
Don't pump the brakes.
Don't pump the brakes.
Yes, Brad.
It's their big game, man, for this year.
I pumped the brakes to number 6. Is that too much
brakes? Oh, Jones, dude.
Brandon, you broke the goddamn car.
Jones, why don't you just leave the call right now?
You're going to get rear-ended with that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yikes. I'm going to get rear-ended with last week's bet. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War launched on November 13th. Today, Daniel Bloodworth actually checked this for me. We checked the placement, where it would be on the Xbox Series X top paid games list. What we realized last week was there are multiple editions of this game, and Ben was there, and we all said, oh, well, we didn't necessarily classify that before the podcast. We'll say that all of the editions apply. Mm-hmm. Well, we all won.
I knew that was going to happen.
Bloodworth
bet ever.
Bloodworth bet 3. Ben and Ian both bet 1. I bet 2. In the first slot, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Standard Edition. Second slot, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Cross-Gen Edition. And in the third slot, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Ultimate Edition. If you were curious what those were, everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Which I'm like ashamed of and proud of at the same time. But because we have to wrap up this podcast, I will abstain being the fourth because there are only 3 things that we can get, and I will let the 3 of you decide who wants to finish up the podcast. But before we do that, let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. We are primarily funded or primarily funded through Patreon. And a kudos to everybody that does that. I want to give a special shout out to everybody at the Love and Respect tier. So this is $5. You get early access on a lot of our shows, including the Easy Allies podcast 2 days early. And you can submit stuff to Silver Lining and Love and Respect. I pick less than half of the questions, the excellent questions in games and wonderful conversation starters that people submit at the Love and Respect tier. And I just want to say thank you to everybody at that tier who posts something sometimes 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. Same post, just trying to get it in there. And I'm like, it's just not relevant, or there's other things we should be talking about. So kudos to everybody at that tier. You make it happen here at Easy Allies. People that are definitely making it happen at the shout out tier are top tier, patreon.com/easyallies. 4 people at this tier, and we are going to shout them out. Blood, you're kicking it off this week.
Okay.
I'm following you. Ben, you are number 3, following me, and Brad wrapping it up at number 4. Shout out to Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Nick.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Totally fucked that up.
No, that's fine. I'll take it. We want them to be different. You know what I mean? That was special, Ben. That was its own thing. All right. Other people who aren't me on this podcast, you get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign off. Currently, excuse me, I didn't completely skip this. That brings our scores to Jovial Penguins 18, Astonished Scorpion 16. Blood, we got to win every bet. We got 3 more podcasts to make this happen. We lose the bet on the next podcast, and it's Ouroboros time for the last 2, which some people are looking forward to. I saw some conflict in the YouTube comments. People were like, I want it to happen. Okay, let's wrap. I'll repeat again for people checking timestamps. You get to promote an Easy Allies video, final word on anything, or you get to sign off with your trademark sign off. Because the Jovial Penguins are in the lead, I will let them pick first. Ben and Brad, what do you want?
Take your pick, Ben.
I will get final word.
Nice.
Okay, I'll do the video.
Oh, you get that
sign off then. Yeah.
Nice. Take it away, Ben.
Cool.
Wait. Then video go first?
Final word.
Video? Fine. Take it away, Brad.
Okay. Check out my Demon Souls review for PS5. Just went up a couple days ago, baby.
Hey, that's a good game.
Yeah, it's a real good game.
And I'm sure a great review. I haven't watched the review yet, Brad. I'm sorry.
An Ian Higgs special.
Just kidding.
When Brad and Ian get together to talk Souls.
Yeah, Ian did a great job.
Yeah.
Ben, final word.
don't let the man keep you down. You know, don't let the government tell you what you can and you cannot play. You find a way around that if you want to. I believe in you.
And we'll see you before the next blood moon rises.
You don't want a coffee stain in the South.
That's not a slam. That's just Japan, yeah.